The Vedantic definition of reality is that which persists, is your identification on solid rock. And we are back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. Woo! And this is the only podcast, YouTube channel with that plant in it, talking Advaita Vedanta. So I'm excited to hear. This episode, this reflection is on the Vedantic interpretation of Christ's words. Swami in the ashram and in his lectures, he'll mention Christ as much as he'll mention Krishna or the Buddha or Muhammad or Shankara. These great lighthouses that we talk about thousands of years later. As Rick Rubin said, if something has lasted 1,000 years, it probably has a lot of truth in it. If we're still talking about individuals thousands of years after them, they probably had a whole lot of truth, a whole lot of wisdom within what they said. They were, in Swami's words in the Vedantic interpretation, realized souls in the cases of someone like Christ, someone like the Buddha. But Christ's words about building our homes, building our houses upon stone and not sand, upon solid rock and not shifting sands. His teaching on that, in so many ways in a dualistic Western interpretation, is, well, you want to hold on to your stuff, plant it in something solid. Many people take that to mean that all of the things that you want, plant them in something solid. But the Vedantic interpretation is your house, that is your identity. To quote Christ's words, and this is from the Gospel of Matthew, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on stone. The rain came down." You might hear sounds like there's some construction happening on a home. Maybe some concrete being poured as we speak behind us. "The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation in the stone. But everyone who hears these words of mine and who does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." What Christ is talking about is our identity. Do we identify with wealth, name, status, career milestones, financial milestones, power, influence? Do we identify with all of these transient, impermanent aspects that are bound to change, ebb and flow? Or do we identify with the permanent, that which is, that which will always be, the self? Do we identify with the body, the mind, even the intellect? Do we identify with these equipments, like identifying with your car, needing it to be so spotless because of your identification tied up into the appearances of you and your car? The body, the mind, these are equipments to help us navigate life, to navigate the world, but they are not us. Do we build our identity on accomplishment, on competition, which by definition separates us from others? Do we build it on ego, further separating ourselves from others? Or do we build it on the permanency of the self, that which persists, do we build our identity around? The ever-changing, illusory nature of this world, or do we build it on the absolute reality? I mention every once in a while that it might be helpful for folks to go back to the intro episode 1 of this podcast. If you ever want a reinforcement of reality, according to the philosophy of Vedanta, you can take it or leave it. And if it doesn't click for you, you can leave it on the shelf for now. And maybe some of the other principles will click into place that can help you in this relative existence. Absolutely help. Better than any business book. 15 years of startups. 13 years this year of advising over 150 startups, building several of my own. And I've never found a resource as beneficial in business, life, family, relationships, any of it, than this philosophy. But if you need a primer on the entirety of this philosophy in a 15-minute overview, the intro episode does that quite well, giving an overview of the entirety of the philosophy. But when Christ says, "Where are you building your house?" the Vedantic interpretation, the non-dualistic interpretation, the Christian mystic interpretation is, where are you building, resting, establishing your identification? What you own, what you do, what you have, your family, your reputation? Or is it based on reality? That which persists. The Vedantic definition of reality is that which persists. Is your identification on solid rock? Or is it on the ever-shifting qualities of sand, like name, fame, status, power, wealth, comfort, ego? Where are we building our house? To where the winds can blow, the rain can come down, the streams can rise. All of these can beat against your house, and it can withstand it all. Not even moving an inch, because it is built on such firm foundation. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.